Welcome back to part 2 of the Broken Doll, and we're talking about the Shirley Temple Doll and how to understand if you've got a Shirley Temple or not. Okay, let's further our history on this doll here. All right. So, anyways, but the most common marking on the Shirley Temple dolls is the diamond. Okay, with the ideal in the middle. Shirley Temple, maybe across the back as well, with a mold number. Sometimes there's a mold number, okay, on the back. There was an unmarked Shirley Temple, and they are genuine Shirley Temples. In I guess what happened is it was going down the line. Many of them didn't get the plate, and they were just sold off. They were Shirley Temple dolls, Shirley Temple bodies and everything. So that adds confusion too. You got the dimples, and someone says, well, mine's not even marked. You might have gotten one of the ones that was unmarked. And it happened as a, you know how that happens with coins and stamps? Something happens along the way as they're being produced, and the stamp might get a double mark, or the coin might get something added or taken away, or I heard that there was a buffalo coin that got a 5th leg, and you know, things like this, or missing leg, or something happens, you know. Well, the same thing happened with the Shirley Temple doll. Some went through the line and didn't even get the markings at all. And it sounds like there was quite a few of them out there. I mean, not by maybe the scores, but they were out there. And they were genuine Shirley Temple dolls. How do you know you got one? Well, I would say look for the dimples right away. Does it have the curly wig and the Shirley Temple look? You probably have one, you know. So just remember that. Something that you learn all the time here. It happens. McGuffy and Anna type head was made by Bernard Lipford for Ideal. And some of these dolls were on the Shirley Temple body. So when they made the McGuffy doll, if any of you out there have a McGuffy and Anna McGuffy doll, she has the Shirley Temple body, and it might even be marked. There might be a mark on the back that says Shirley Temple. And you might say to yourself, someone put her on a Shirley Temple body. No, they just used the Shirley Temple body. And this is why it makes it hard for you to understand, do I have an Anna McGuffy doll, or do I have a Shirley Temple doll? This is where problems set in. And Ideal didn't clarify, like look after this. They just didn't. And but it was Bernard Lipford that made the doll, but he wasn't involved in the production of the doll. And what they used, he said, use the Shirley Temple body, but it'd be other people, I would imagine, that would have to take that plate off, but they didn't. If it stayed on, you got one it's an Anna McGuffy doll, but it has a Shirley Temple body. You're going to say, maybe someone just, you know, their Shirley Temple head cracked, and so and the body on the Anna McGuffy doll wasn't any good, so they just took the body from the rotten Shirley Temple and put it on. No. Well, that could have happened. It might have, but the biggest thing is, in the doll, the Anna McGuffy doll, would be that it is actually on a Shirley Temple, genuine Shirley Temple body. There you go. The twists and turns to this. And how are we to understand? Do I have an Anna McGuffy doll, or do I have a Shirley Temple doll? Again, does the Anna McGuffy doll have dimples? That's going to be your first thing you're going to look for, dimples on her. Because Shirley Temple had the dimples. Okay. Now, this Anna McGuffy doll was sometimes even called Nancy. Okay, she had human hair, braids, an open mouth with 4 teeth. Shirley has a matte painted finish to a rosy gloss finish, and some even have gray and black eyeshadowing. Some have single lash lines around the eye with a few lash strokes. The teeth, from very well molded teeth to painted teeth. Tongues were hard rubber with gloss painted on, or they had felt tongues. Eyes, pale gold, honey to brown, hazel to green. The 13 inches up came with or without flirty eyes. So you can get some with and some without. In 1936, the Shirley, Texas Sentinel Ranger doll, or the Cowgirl doll, came out. And that's what you're seeing right here. Now, I do have her chaps. They're just in a drawer. They need buckles, and I need to get cleaner to clean them. But this is I don't think her hat's original. Her wig is, but her hat is not original to her. But everything else is on her. Everything else is original. Her shirt, her pant, her vest, her underwear, or her shorts, her socks, her boots, everything there. Those are all original to her. on mine anyways. Then there was, the very first doll that came out was the Stand Up and Cheer doll. Now, you know it as the polka dot dress doll. Now, my dolls are wearing a recreation of the Stand Up and Cheer dress. These are not the original. By no means, they're not original. I bought them from people who were quite gifted in sewing. And so anyways, I bought them for my dolls. The ones in the polka dots are the two that I have restored myself. So, there you go. There was, oh yeah, a special issue doll. She was chocolate brown, painted eyes. Shirley called her Marama. Marama. She had yarn, black hair that was glued on. In the movie, it came from the movie The Hurricane that Shirley Temple played in. She was in this movie called The Hurricane. She played the role of, I'm having a hard time saying it, Marama. Now, she played a little doll that belonged to a little boy who just loved Marama. And Marama, like I said, was played by Shirley Temple. The little boy's name was Taranji. He loved this doll and what it represented of the true love he had for her. And so anyways, this doll did come out, and it had dark skin to represent that culture. Now there's a Shirley Temple baby doll that came out with a cloth body, composition shoulder plate. Some have full composition arms, some have cloth shoulders, some with molded hair, some with blonde, gold glued on wigs. Some wigs were thin curls, later they thickened the curls. Flirty eyes, dimples. There was a toddler Shirley Temple that is very scarce. Not many of them made. It's straight leg, chubby, compo body, dimple below the mouth line, mama crier, marked 73 over the Shirley Temple on the head and the body. And I do have one of those, of the Shirley Temple babies with the 73. I didn't know. It made me run to them, and when I found this out, I went, wait, I saw a number. I couldn't recall if it was 73 or not. All I knew, on one of mine has it was a Shirley Temple baby, and it had the number 73 over the Shirley Temple. And I have one of those, and they're very scarce. I bought her just as a Shirley Temple baby, but this is the Shirley Temple toddler doll. Okay. Now, there was a lot of foreign Shirley Temple dolls as well. Ideal did not cover themselves on infringement rights from other countries, so Japan made their own Shirley Temple. And there's a 6 and a 10-inch one. There's a lot of imitations that Bernard Lipford made. The U.S. laws at the time were just not strong enough to fight against them. E.G. made Miss Charming. Horseman made a Shirley Temple. This here is a reliable Shirley Temple from Canada. But they were given the rights to make a Shirley Temple. So, yeah, so that there's a Canadian Shirley Temple right there. Yeah. So, but that one did have rights. Canada did have rights for it. From the Ideal Toy Company. The most competitive one out of all of them was Madame Alexander. She came out, there was a lady who, let me start back. There was a lady named Anne Fellows Johnston. She made a book called The Little Colonel. And Madame Alexander came along and made her own little Colonel doll with a line of clothing from that time period. This doll was released at the same time as the Shirley Temple movie, The Little Colonel. So Ideal sued Madame Alexander for infringing on them because they just came out with the movie The Little Colonel. But Madame Alexander won, and the reason why she won was before she started producing her own little Colonel doll with this line of clothing, she went to the family, and even though Anne Fellows Johnston was deceased, the family, the heirs to her name and her books, they gave her, Madame Alexander, the rights to produce that doll. So when it hit the courts, Ideal lost. And Madame Alexander was allowed to continue in producing because she did nothing wrong. And maybe, we'll never know. But I sometimes wondered when I was writing this out and I was learning this, Did Madame Alexander get wind of it, you know, something in the air, you know, and try to beat them to the punch or whatever? You know, it makes you wonder, you know. It's all's not fair in love and war, right? And sometimes, you know, business can be dirty, you know, and business can be great at the same time, and you'll never be able to prove it. But little speculations, you know, you wonder, hey, I wonder if she got wind about it, you know. Maybe not. Maybe she was just wanting to make it. It was already going along the way, and, you know, hey, I'm all right with this, you know. I'm going to go produce this little doll, and did not know anything about what was going on in the Shirley Temple world, you know. But it just happened to come out. Her production came out at the same time as the movie came out too. So we have to leave it up to, it is what it is what it is. We can speculate, but that's all they are, speculations. And we leave it there in the world of speculation. But again, I did bring in 2 other little dolls that I want to show you here that have the look, especially the one does, of Shirley Temple. But they're not Shirley Temples at all. They have nothing to do with Shirley Temple. But she does have, wait a minute, I got to be careful with what I'm saying here. This one here, I don't think there's any marks on her. No, there's no marks on these dolls. Yeah. I couldn't find anything on them. Yeah, they're unmarked, but she has little dimples in her. But she kind of has that Shirley Temple look, but she's not a Shirley Temple. Just a wannabe. That's what I call them. I want to be a Shirley Temple. You know, and that's what happens. You know, a lot of these little dolls came along, and maybe this was trying to replicate the... Now, there's a mark on this one here. I can't quite make it out. I think it says F&B. This looks like an F&B doll right here. But, you know, the thing is, you know, they all wanted to have the curly wigs and the look, you know, of Shirley Temple. And little girls were happy to get, you know, sometimes that's all mom and dad could afford, was maybe a simplified Shirley Temple, you know, like something very simple. But like something that was that could fit their wallets a little bit better. And didn't quite say Shirley Temple, but it had the look and maybe the dimples in the right place. And that one there has dimples right where they weren't. Shirley Temple wasn't the only one that sported dimples. So it makes it hard to know, but you have to know the company name. Ideal was big on making sure that their dolls were marked. I also heard through my years that some of the very first Shirley Temples that were unmarked, there were some at the beginning, not because of a line problem. They put information on paper up in the doll's head. So I heard about it. Never saw one. Wish I did have one, but I don't have one. But again, there you go. You know, you take it for what it's worth. But I hope this kind of clears up why it's hard sometimes to know. There are things that you can see, how Shirley Temple's fingers are posed, how some of the things that she was known for, the dimples, the flirty eyes, the curly wigs, the markings on the back with the height number. My dolls all have height numbers on the back of them. So they have, there's a few down here that didn't, but there are some, most of mine do, but if they don't have the height number, they have the Shirley Temple on the back, or they have something to say, hey, I'm Shirley Temple, I'm Shirley Temple. And even though they're on a Shirley Temple body, I knew where the dimple did not fall in the right place. It's in the chin. Therefore, you're a ginger doll. You know, these are things that we have to, you know, remember as we're looking and buying our dolls. And that we remember that there are specific things that are going to come right out. She has 6 little teeth, not 4. Some of the dolls that were lookalikes only had 4 teeth. Shirley Temple had 6. You know, these are things that you're going to have to remember, you know, when you're out and about. If you see 4, nah, she's not a Shirley Temple. That's not going to work at all. So there you go. I hope this helps you out. I hope this gave some clarity, and also why there's always confusion and probably always will be. But as you get better, you become better and better at understanding the Shirley Temple doll and seeing the differences of other dolls compared to the Shirley Temple doll. You say to yourself, oh, I'm getting it. I'm starting to see what is a true Shirley Temple. And when you collect not just one, but quite a few, these dolls start to blend a little bit, except the reliable one. She has a little different of a face because she's made from another country. But the American Ideal USA Shirley Temple Doll, they start to have a look of their own. Even though she had the chubby face in the beginning, and as she grew a little older, they gave her more of a less chubbier face as she was getting older. Then what happened is that the marks were still there, though. That you still had the Shirley Temple marks, the dimples and everything else, just a thinner face. They did change the mold in those 6 years. But I hope this opens the door for a lot of people who want to collect Shirley Temple. Don't be afraid of it. You know, there's all kinds of Shirley Temples out there, of course, and some of them are really still cheap to buy, even compositions. You can go really high on them if you want original. I don't go for original. I would never have one at that rate. I'd have one good one and that would be it, maybe, you know. And these are just as fine as ever, as you can see. They're still beautiful. And if you're interested in restoring your doll, stay on my channel because I show how to restore dolls, and it might help you out. Restoring can be scary, especially when you've got your doll in your hand. You're going, I'm responsible making you look beautiful again. And you know something? You'll get through it. And you'll make mistakes, and you're going to have victories. You're going to do a victory lap when you're done because you're going to say, look what I did for you. So much better, you know. And yeah, so step in and get your feet wet and learn to restore your old dolls and make them better than what they were. But again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. And I hope you found this interesting. I did. And yeah, I wish I could find my 11-inch, but hey, there's going to be more on this. And the thing is about this here, what I did, my part 1 and part 2 can be perfected as we move along. We're going to find more and more information out. People are going to drop tidbits off here and there, and we can make this even bigger. I'm not saying I told you all the information. I only told you what I could gather right now. And I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I learned a lot too. From Bernard. Okay, I like saying that name, Bernard. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Like I say, leave me a comment. Subscribe if you're passing by and you like what you saw here. You know, what you heard and everything. I would enjoy you to come along and step aboard on this wonderful journey of restoring our dolls and learning their history and their beauty, bringing back their beauty again. All right. Thanks again. We'll be talking to you again really soon. Bye-bye.